So guys, as we discussed in our previous video, Abdul Carter continues to dominate, the pass rush has been relentless, and this entire unit is already playing with the physicality and intensity fans wanted to see. But on the other side of the ball, it's been a completely different story. While the defense keeps stacking impressive performances, the Giants' offense has struggled to find any real rhythm through the first 3 days of camp. The execution hasn't been clean, the pressure has been constant, and instead of building momentum, this offense is starting to raise some serious questions heading into the season. So let me break down what happened to the offense and why the Giants' offense hit a major roadblock on day 3, what's causing these early struggles. Whether it's just a normal part of installing a new offensive system or something fans should actually be concerned about. What's up, Big Blue? Welcome to the NFL Playbook Giants. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Alright, let's start with the offense because honestly, that's where all the concern is right now. Day 3 of training camp is in the books, and if you were hoping to see Jaxson Dart build on a strong start, today wasn't really that day. In the 11-on-11 work, Dart finished around 7 of 14 with an interception, and I mean, you could just feel the pressure in his face all practice long. It wasn't one bad rep here and there, it was consistent. The offensive line just didn't hold up the way you want it to, and look, that's a problem when you're trying to develop a young quarterback. Now, I want to be fair here because it's not like this is all on Dart. A big part of why he's under so much pressure is the offensive line. Today, honestly, was probably the most disappointing performance from that group through 3 days of camp. I lost count of how many would-be sacks there were in team drills, and that's not a good sign this early, even with the understanding that defenses tend to be ahead of the offense at this stage. When your quarterback doesn't have time to go through his reads, it doesn't matter how good his arm talent is or how well he sees the field, the whole operation breaks down. So, when people ask me why Dart looked rattled today, I keep pointing back to that front 5. Give a young quarterback a clean pocket, and he's going to look like a completely different player. Don't give him one, and you're going to see exactly what we saw today. But here's what really worries me. It wasn't just the normal 11-on-11 reps, it was the 2-minute drills that closed out practice. The first one ended in a 3-and-out. The clock ran out before they could get anything going. Then there was a false start penalty on that same running clock drive, which, in a real game situation, that's the kind of mistake that cost you the whole possession. And then to cap it all off, the final 2-minute drill ended with Darius Alexander stepping in front of a pass and picking off Dart. I'll get into how that interception actually happened in a minute because it ties into just how well this defense is playing right now. But from the offensive side, that's back-to-back days where the 2-minute drill just hasn't clicked. And honestly, I keep going back to something from last season. Remember the fourth quarter against the Broncos? Dart was really solid for 55 minutes of that game, but when it came down to the final 2 minutes needing to go move the ball with the game on the line, it turned into jump balls and prayers downfield instead of a clean controlled drive. So, when I see these same struggles show up again in the 2-minute drill at training camp, I'm not saying panic, but it is something I've circled. This has to be an area of growth in year 2 for Dart because you're not going to beat good teams if you can't close out games when it matters. Now, I don't want you to think I'm sitting here in full panic mode about this offense because I'm not. You have to remember what's actually happening here. This is a completely new offensive system being built from scratch. Matt Nagy is the new offensive coordinator, but this isn't just his system plugged in. You've got Greg Roman working as a senior offensive analyst, but everybody's been clear that this isn't a Greg Roman offense either. You've got Coach Callahan working with the quarterbacks, and again, this isn't some copy-and-paste version of a scheme he ran somewhere else. John Harbaugh has said it directly. They are building a brand new Giants system from the ground up, and that takes time. When you're installing something completely new for literally every single player on that offense, including the coordinators calling it, you're going to hit bumps early. That's just how it works. Now here's the other side of it, and it's a pretty stark contrast, honestly. While the offense works through these growing pains, this defense already knows exactly what it's doing, and it's showing. Unlike the offensive side, the defense isn't building a scheme from zero. Dennard Wilson came in as the new defensive coordinator, but he's bringing over the same system he helped build with the Ravens. John Harbaugh actually touched on this, saying one of the biggest reasons they brought in Wilson was so they could run that exact same scheme they already had established. So, you've got a group of players stepping into something familiar, something proven, instead of learning on the fly like the offense is right now. Think about what that actually means day to day. When you already know the calls, you already know your leverage, you already know your landmarks and coverage, you're not thinking, you're just playing. And that's exactly what we're seeing from this group through 3 days. They're flying around, making plays, and looking like a unit that's already gelled, while the offense is still bogged down trying to learn the verbiage of a brand new system. And that shows up in the little details too. Guys like our Darius Washington have already played in this exact defense before, so he's out there almost like a coach on the field, getting guys lined up right, talking through checks. Being that steady presence for guys who are still learning it. That kind of experience matters a ton in training camp when everybody else is trying to soak in a brand new playbook. Okay, now let me talk about how that Darius Alexander interception actually happened because it says a lot about where this defense is right now. It came out of a cover zero look with a double mug at the line, so you've got a bunch of guys crowding the line of scrimmage. And the whole point is the offense has to guess who's coming and who's dropping. It looked like the defense sent everybody at first glance, but Alexander was actually the one who dropped back into coverage. Dart didn't see him sitting there, threw it right to him, and Alexander made the play and took it the other direction. That's a veteran-level read from a defensive lineman, and it's a big reason why he's currently getting first crack at the starting job next to DJ Reader inside ahead of Shelby Harris, who a lot of us assumed would be the guy there. That's a real change-up from what everybody expected heading into camp. And then you've got Abdul Carter, who honestly just keeps doing what he's been doing since the first day. Consistent pressure, disruptive off the edge, and he's clearly settling in as one of the anchors of this front. Alongside him, Arvell Reese is putting together one of the more impressive camps of anybody on this roster. He's had his best practice of camp so far, making plays as a run defender and holding up in coverage too. That length he's got showed up in a big way on a pass intended for Odell Beckham, where he came out of nowhere to break it up. John Harbaugh even pointed out afterward that his length is exactly what makes him such a tough matchup in coverage. If this guy can be a legit factor dropping into coverage on top of everything he already brings as a downhill run defender, that's a scary combination for opposing offenses. And Brian Burns has been getting home too, racking up a few would-be sacks of his own and continuing to show why he's such a difference maker off the edge. A few other things worth mentioning from the offensive skill positions today. Jalen Hyatt came down with a deep catch and Dalen Cambray did the same, beating Colton Hood on a nice downfield connection with Dart. That's an encouraging sign for a rookie quarterback, even on a day where the overall offensive rhythm wasn't there, and it shows there's still real juice in this passing game once the protection and the timing start coming together. Theo Johnson also had a solid rep up the seam, and after a couple of drops the last 2 days, it was good to see him come down clean on that one. And Art Green was back at practice today after sitting out Thursday with what was called some general muscle soreness. Good to have him back in the mix. Now switching over to the injury and roster management side of things, because there's an important update here on Malik Nabers. He actually went through a full practice on day 1, which surprised a lot of people given everything he's coming back from. He was out there again on day 2, and then day 3 he didn't practice at all. Before anybody starts worrying, this is exactly the plan the coaching staff laid out from the jump. John Harbaugh has said they're going to bring him along slowly and that it's going to be a while before he's a full go in practice. And honestly, that's the smart move. You don't win any games in July, but you can absolutely lose games in July if you rush a guy back too early and something goes wrong. This front office clearly invested a lot into the training and medical staff this offseason, and they're using that investment the right way here, being patient with one of their most important offensive weapons. So he's ready to roll by week 1. So when you put it all together, day 3 tells basically the same story as day 2. This defense is playing fast connected and with real identity because they already know the scheme inside and out. While the offense is still figuring out who it wants to be under a brand new system, and that shows up most in the 2-minute drill where execution and chemistry matter more than raw talent. I'm not hitting the panic button on this offense, not even close, because building something new always looks rough before it looks good. But the 2-minute drill issue and the pressure up front are things I want to see cleaned up as camp goes on. Heading into the next few practices I'll be watching, whether that offensive line settles down and gives Dart more time in the pocket, whether he cleans up that 2-minute drill and shows he can command a drive under pressure, and whether guys like Jalen Hyatt, Dalen Cambray, and Theo Johnson keep flashing enough big plays downfield to give this offense some juice. Right now, the identity of this team is clear. The defense is going to carry the load early, and it's a good one, maybe even a great one if it keeps trending this way. But at some point, the offense has to catch up, and the sooner that happens, the better this team is going to look when it actually matters.